Well, welcome back, everybody. We're very grateful to the Egg Farmers of Canada for sponsoring this next set of sessions. And so without further delay, let's get to it. Our next session will be Comparative LCA of the Canadian Egg Industry Supply Managed Model and a Theoretical Free Market Model, presented by Luis Cadavid from the University of British Columbia. Take it away, Luis.
My name is Luis Cadavid. I'm a multidisciplinary executive with experience in the agriculture industries in Latin America. Also president of Sustainable Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Agriculture in Ecuador, and an avid promoter of sustainably mined cryptocurrencies. I currently hold a degree from a master's in management from Imperial College, and I'm doing my master's in sustainability at UBC. The comparative LCA of the Canadian egg industry supply managed model and a theoretical free market model. The study is a comparative life cycle assessment between the current model of production against the theoretical free market model based within the Canadian boundaries. The boundaries stretch from the cradle to the provincial distribution center. And the objective of the study is to compare and understand the environmental effects of the egg production with the two different models. The methodology is a comparative life cycle assessment. It will compare three models: the current supply managed model, an Alberta-based free market model, and an Ontario-based free market model, in order to be able to compare two different distribution centers with two different feed compositions. The project also includes a literature review on food security and food sovereignty that will be performed as part of the study in order to give a further understanding, a deeper understanding on some of the social aspects that are usually not included in the LCA. Food security often does not take into consideration environmental impacts, which makes it interesting to analyze in conjunction with LCA, as it will also give some different perspectives to LCA itself. In the case of food sovereignty, it is heavily reliant on environmental effects. However, so far we've seen that it is not so specific on how to measure them, which LCA makes it interesting, as it is a very numerical way of doing it. The combination of the three perspectives should give the study a more complete understanding of the implications of models in question, specifically the supply managed model, which takes into consideration some of the social aspects that pure LCA wouldn't deliver in this situation. The estimated results and conclusions, regionalizing in the theoretical market model, free market model, should have a higher impact in transportation, given the long distances from both Ontario and Alberta to the rest of the country. It's also estimated that the regional model, the free market model, will have some adverse effects in terms of food sovereignty, as the provinces would lose control of their egg supply and will depend exclusively in one of these two distribution centers for the entire nation. The feed composition, both in Alberta and Ontario model, are different. Alberta is more wheat-based, while Ontario is more corn-based, which means there should be different environmental effects coming from each one of those regionalized models versus the current national model. In terms of food security, the food security in this theoretical model should be affected, as it will be more prone to natural disasters or any logistical disruptions, as it will no longer be local. Specifically major weather events like the one we had in BC late last year. Some of the benefits and the impacts of the study: eggs, of course, are the most sustainable protein in Canada currently. They're affordable and nutrient rich. And the study should, should give us a better understanding of the environmental impact of the current model, while also taking into consideration some of the social aspects of food security and food sovereignty within the Canadian boundaries. The study should also serve as a base for a future economic and social study of the same boundaries. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
Thank you. It'll be a really interesting study once it's completed, and you've posed some interesting questions there. So I have a question, and if anybody has a question, please do add it to the question and answer box. So I'm just wondering, do you think the results of this study might be used to either defend or support, defend or refute supply management in the policy negotiations and trade negotiations that happen on a wider scale?
Personally, given the boundaries that we're setting up, which would be assuming Canada continues to produce its own eggs in a free market model, I definitely think it should support the supply managed model, especially in the aspects of food sovereignty and food security, given that currently it's done locally in most communities or close enough to most major centers. Well, in a free market model, specifically how the study is based, we would be depending on one of two provinces for the distribution in the entire nation.
Great, good. All right, I don't have any other questions. So with that, I'm going to thank you for your presentation, and we'll move on to the next